With more Americans expected to vote by mail this year because of the coronavirus, the U.S. Postal Service is playing a critical role in the presidential election process. And House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and top Democrats are now calling for the new Postmaster General, Louis DeJoy, to testify before Congress next week. The House is also expected to reconvene this week for a rare August vote on legislation prohibiting the Postal Service from making any big changes ahead of the election. Yahoo Finance senior columnist Rick Newman joins us now to break it down. Good morning, Rick. Just to explain to people why the concern by lawmakers over what the Post Office is even attempting to do right now. What is the fear here?
It's a combination of a couple of things. So we have a new Postmaster General as of earlier this year. That person is a big Trump supporter and a donor, and he has started making changes at the Postal Service that do seem to be having the effect of slowing down the delivery of mail. He has stopped overtime for a lot of postal workers. So they used to process all the mail that came in a given day and stay there until it was done. Now, when the shift is over, they leave. And if there's mail that hasn't been processed, they get to it the next day and it piles up and so on. Combine that with remarks President Trump has made recently, reiterating his concern about mail-in voting and actually saying that he does not want the Postal Service to get extra funding because it would help the Postal Service deliver more ballots this summer. So President Trump has basically said he is opposed to the Postal Service getting help delivering ballots. And those two things combined have just raised concerns that perhaps what's going on there is a deliberate effort to slow down the mail so that ballots don't get delivered in October and November.
Rick, when I hear Congress coming back to work, and good for them, I mean, you can't be off all summer in this type of situation, any chance that a stimulus plan gets worked out?
I probably not, based on this, what they're talking about, this limited measure they might pass, the House at least might pass, probably coming this weekend, related specifically to the Postal Service. I don't think that they're going to be able to resolve all the differences over a stimulus bill. It sounds like the House just wants to vote on something specific to the Postal Service, and that doesn't mean the Senate will pass it. But unlike a lot of things that happen in Congress, where the Democrats want one thing and the Republicans want something completely different, there is some Republican concern, along with basically widespread Democratic concern about what's happening at the Postal Service. And if you think about it, some of the people who rely most on the Postal Service are people who live in rural areas and need mail delivery for a lot of stuff they rely on, and those are some Republican areas. So it's possible the Senate could vote on something, but so far Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader, hasn't said what he will do.
With regards to the Postal Service, Rick, what can Congress really do? I mean, there's sort of that hybrid situation because they're an independent entity, yet they do receive federal funding, and President Trump is saying they're not going to give them any more funding. We know the Post Service has been struggling for years. They've been cash-strapped and mismanaged. What could Congress really do here?
Yeah, the Postal Service is I guess you could call it a quasi-independent agency. I mean, one of the reasons the Postal Service is mismanaged, as you just described it, is it can't really operate like a normal company. I mean, it still has obligations. Congress still has the right to get involved, as it is doing now, for example. So I guess what the House could do in a bill, first of all, they could just, as a standalone measure, approve this extra $25 billion in funding, take it out of the stimulus bill and just pass that on its own. They could also tell the Postal Service to stop making any changes. They could micromanage this and say, you must allow overtime. You must process the mail that comes in as it comes in. That's one of the reasons the Postal Service is in so much trouble, is because Congress can meddle almost at will. Again, I think it's a big question whether there will actually be a bill that becomes a law, because it's not clear what the Senate will do. But the House Democrats will for sure pass something within less than a week.